this is a total wide open division. One of the questions that we have about who is going to make the playoffs this year, on average, 5 teams normally don't make it from the previous playoff group to the next playoff group. The Redskins we put in that mix. Who knows what the Cowboys are doing? The Giants have a new coach. And the Eagles, if the ball bounced one way or another, Chip Kelly might still be coach. I doubt it. It seemed to be more of what was going on behind the scenes. And to help us make heads or tails of all of this is the legendary play-by-play voice, now in his 40th season, calling the action for the Eagles faithful, Merrill Reese. How are you, Merrill?
I am well, Rich, and really excited to get going.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. We all are, too. How different of an atmosphere is it around the team with Kelly gone and Peterson in, Merrill?
I think it's different. I think it's different throughout the building. Doug is a very warm, communicative person, makes everybody feel a part of it. Of course, we aren't very far into things because the veterans just reported last night. So the first real practice, Eastern time, is at 3 o'clock this afternoon.
And so it's interesting that you say he's a warm, personable in the building, because that was the conversation about Chip Kelly and what rubbed Jeffrey Lurie the wrong way. Do you think that there was any possibility that Kelly could have stuck around if there were a few more wins in his pocket last year, Merrill?
I think it's a win-oriented, a results-oriented business. That's what it is. It's based on wins. If the Eagles had a terrific record last year, if the Eagles had gone back to the playoffs, yes. But what Jeffrey said, and I don't disagree, was he looked at what was happening and he saw a downward trajectory, and he felt he had to make a move.
So now, what is this offense going to look like? Is it an Andy Reid situation? Because we all know Peterson is an Andy Reid guy. He's just plucked him from the staff. He's been there with Reid before. Is this just going to be the same old in terms of what the Eagles fans have come to expect out of an offense?
No, I don't think it's same old, and it's really unfair to say that until we actually see it evolve. I mean, he has different coaches with him. He has players with different skill sets. I think it's going to be, if they have a West Coast type of offense, and they'll have wrinkles, I think it's going to be an offense more suited to Sam Bradford, who is not really a run and react type of quarterback, a read zone option quarterback. Sam Bradford, I think, will benefit with a more traditional offense. And I think people like Jason Peters, who is still one of the better left tackles in the National Football League, is going to benefit where he has a chance to catch his breath at 34 years old instead of going nonstop.
Yeah, we could not help but notice in Sam Bradford's opening press conference of the training camp season, he was extolling the virtues of huddling up, Merrill. I heard that.
And he's going to have a lot more flexibility in terms of calling audibles, checking off at the line of scrimmage, and doing what he sees to be the right thing at the right time. He was more restricted in what he did last year.
So do you think, and obviously I mentioned 40 years behind the mic, you've seen a lot, you've seen it all, that Chip Kelly's offense can work in the NFL? Do you think that can work?
I think it can probably work with the right people. It's a different type of offense, but you need people who are absolutely suited to that offense. And it's not just is it suited to the offense? Do you have the kind of defense that can put up with it? Because don't forget, that offense is not on the field very long, and there are a lot of us who feel that the defense here, although troubled last year, part of the problem was the fact that they spent so much time on the field because the offense was in and out so quickly.
So who is the difference maker on this team? Who's it going to be, Merrill?
It's tough to say. I mean, you can say, are there elite players on this team? I think there are some. I think Fletcher Cox, if you're looking at the defense, is one of the great defensive tackles in the National Football League. He's really special. Another guy who has been absolutely outstanding since he's been here for the past couple of years is Malcolm Jenkins, the safety. There are young emerging players. There are guys like Vinny Curry, who's a terrific pass rusher, and Jim Schwartz is going to make a difference as a defensive coordinator. He seems to have everything. He's gone back to a 4-3 defense. On offense, the most important player on this offense, Rich, is Sam Bradford. There's no question about that. And while that doesn't excite a lot of fans, keep in mind that Sam Bradford is a talent. There's a reason he was the top player picked in the draft. And Sam Bradford, for the first time in years, is coming off an off season where he conditioned and worked with an offense rather than went through a whole rehab. This is a guy who had been injured 3 straight years. So he is totally healthy, and he has bought into the program. So I think if you're talking about a difference maker, it's Sam Bradford, and there are some wide receivers to keep an eye on. One is Nelson Aguilar, who did very little last year as a rookie, and he had his injuries, but he is still an explosive talent, and I'm anxious to see what he does this year. And Jordan Matthews is a fine player. A little bit upset about, I'm sure they are, about the fact that Ryan Matthews, who has a history of injuries, came in with an ankle injury that has to be attended to before they put him out on the field. But there's a rookie to keep an eye on out of West Virginia by the name of Wendell Smallwood. And, again, we're going by what we see at these practices, and you really don't know until the pads go on and the games begin. But Smallwood has quickness, he has speed, and he's going to be very interesting to watch. And when you talk about a difference maker, there's another guy who will line up in the backfield. He will line up as a receiver. He will return punts. And that, of course, is Darren Sproles, and he is always a difference maker.
And before I let you go, Merrill Reese, I'm on the phone with Merrill Reese, the legendary voice of the Eagles. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about your favorite Buddy Ryan story with the passing of Coach just a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, he was amazing. Buddy, getting to know Buddy was one of the real thrills of my career. He was a very, very special person. I always felt that Buddy could get up in the middle of the night and put on one left sneaker and hop out of the hotel, and 53 guys would wake up suddenly and follow him out of the hotel. He just had such a way with young, tough athletes. He was special, but there were so many of the things that Buddy would say. The media was around Buddy, and there were players that were not in. These were not the days where players were slotted, so it wasn't unusual to see 5 or 10 players unsigned at the first day of training camp. And Buddy would turn to the media and say, well, we'd have a team if the guy from France would ever get back. Speaking about the owner, Norman Bremen, who would go to southern France on his vacation. Or when he would introduce Harry Gamble, the team president, at the annual luncheon preceding the season, he would often refer to him as Bremen's illegitimate son. So that was Buddy. Buddy kept you laughing, but Buddy was a guy who had a passion for this game, and his relationships with his players, they would walk through fire for Buddy Ryan.
Merrill, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Have a great season if we don't chat before.
Thank you very much, Rich. Nice speaking with you.
Same here. The legendary voice of the Eagles in his 40th season behind the mic.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.